The evolution of Raid continues here in 2025. But while pursuing this Community Week's Titan event, because yes, I am going for the 5-star soul for Artor, who is the free login champion this month. While pursuing this Titan event, a thought occurred to me, which is funny. It's not like haha funny, but there's a very satisfying irony to this idea that I want to share with you in just a moment. And I do want to hear what you think about this. Now, before we get to that idea, we have to kind of back up and talk about another idea that we've talked about a little bit on this channel. I know it's part of the community conversation right now, which is that the old joke was that Raid Shadow Legends should be called Wait Shadow Legends, because it's always more beneficial to hold on to your resources, and rather than spend them the moment you get them, you wait until you find a more opportune time, and then you get more value for those resources. But this joke has become like kind of scarily more relevant this year. It is Wait Shadow Legends. You must really wait this year to get the most value out of your resources. And the reason is because Plarium has instituted sort of a strategic change to their big events, to their Titan events and to their Fusion events, in order, I think, to entice us to spend more money. But the ironic idea, the thing that I'm finding so funny, is I think it may have actually accomplished the opposite. So I'm going to outline it for you, and then you can let me know what you think. I am Colred. This is Colred Plays Wait Shadow Legends. Let's get started. In order to understand how we got to where we are right now, we need to back up a little bit. We're going to take a look at this most recent Fusion calendar. So this was Lysander Beastbane's Fusion. It just ended a few days ago. But this is really just a stand-in. This is a stand-in for all of the Fusion events that we've had for the past several months. Because I think maybe starting in like November of 2024, there was a change that occurred to Fusion events. And the change was really obvious. This was not something that Plarium could hide, but what they started doing was introducing these new mega events at the end of Fusion events. And it seems like they're doing the same with Titan events. We'll talk about that in a moment. So we have this Heroes Path. And the reason I'm calling it a mega event is because it's replacing multiple classic Fusion events. So in the classic Fusion event calendar, it doesn't matter what form of Fusion it was. It doesn't matter if it was a classic Fusion or a hybrid or, a fragment Fusion. But what I mean is sort of the traditional Fusion event calendar. You typically had 16 events, and then maybe you had a bonus event where you could get some bonus fragments. So for instance, if you think about this Fusion event, the way this worked is you needed 400 out of the 450 fragments, right? So there were 4 epics, each one takes 100 fragments, and each event would give you 25 fragments, so you needed 16 to get 400 fragments. Now, this Heroes Path is actually replacing 2 events. It's replacing a champion chase, which we would put here, so there would be a champion chase, and that would usually be for the weekend, just the way the summon rush is. So it would look kind of like this. And then up here, you can see there's a Dungeon Divers missing. We have 1, 2, no third one. So there would be a Dungeon Divers, and it would probably look something like this, right? So this Dungeon Divers event would have 25 fragments. This Champion Chase event would have 25 fragments. And instead, they've replaced those 2 events and those 50 fragments they've placed here in the Heroes Path. And then in addition, you can notice there are no bonus fragments anywhere except for the Heroes Path. So they've taken the fragments away from like tournaments. Like you used to be able to win a tournament or come in second place in a tournament, get some fragments. Or potentially we would have like a 17th event that would have some fragments. Now, back a couple of years ago, in fact, there was a different setup where you would still have 16 events like this, but you could skip the summon rush or you could skip the champion chase. So the way it would work is that there would be like one additional event that would give you 25 fragments, allowing you to then not do the summon rush or the champion chase. If it was a traditional Fusion, there would be an extra champion somewhere. There'd be an epic champion that would allow you to skip the summon rush or the champion chase. And then like 18 months ago, they decided to change that to force us to do both shard events. I'm sorry. So you had to do at least half of the summon rush and the full champion chase, or half of the champion chase and the full summon rush. So you couldn't skip any events anymore. Now they've pushed this even further, right? And basically what I think they did here is they turned this champion chase, this is a 2 times weekend, by the way. So this is a 2 times, I think it was a 2 times sacred week. So rather than allow us to do a champion chase here, they've put the champion chase into this hero's path, but they turned it into a summon rush. You weren't getting points from pulling champions, you were getting points from pulling shards. So that means if you've carefully hoarded up fragment champions for a champion chase, you couldn't use those fragment champions during this fusion event, which would inherently require you then to pull more shards than you had planned on. Now, at first, this kind of looks negative. It looks aggressive. It looks combative. I don't know what you would call it. It looks like Plarium is trying to take more advantage of us. You combine this with their style of blackout, information blackout, and it's not for the player's benefit, right? It is clearly meant to exploit the players. If you think about the way they do their blackout, is they never let you know the information until the last moment, right? And therefore, out of fear that you might mess up, you play this safe. And that was in fact what happened when these fusion events first started coming out. These new fusion events with the mega events built in. So the first time this happened, I did this and a lot of content creators did this. We said, we don't know what's going to be in this hero's path. I think it was a hero's path. We don't know what's going to be in this hero's path. So you should still complete this summon rush. Just on the off chance that this hero's path is really unfriendly, you want to have those 25 fragments banked, or you want to have that, rare champion banked if it was a classic fusion, just in case. And what we found is that the hero's path was actually pretty good value, right? The extra event was pretty good value. Yes, they're forcing you to do it, but simultaneously, they're actually giving us pretty good value here. And I think the thought process from Plarium, and this is what I want your opinion on, I think the thought process from Plarium was, over the past 2 years, the player base has perfected fusion events. They know exactly how to do them in really efficient ways. And as a result, players are spending less and less money during the fusion event calendar because they're just so good at fusion events. And so what we want to do is mix it up a little bit. We want to change it so that they don't know what to expect, and therefore maybe they will spend out of fear, or they'll make a mistake and not be efficient, and then they'll have to spend to make up for that inefficiency. And so they did this. But simultaneously, the event that they put on the end, they want to make extra valuable. And they do that for several reasons, I think. I think one is that also entices you to spend. If there's a lot of good rewards there, a hero's path is an opportunity just on its own, like as a mega event, for people to want to spend. You mix that in with a 2 times sacred event weekend, or a progressive weekend that has really good progressive champions, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to spend a lot of money on this hero's path. And then I think the other reason they wanted to make it really valuable is so that the players who had been efficient would still be enticed to go further, right? So whether you were inefficient or efficient, either way, if the hero's path is valuable, you're going to want to spend. Now, what's actually happened is over the past several months, we've seen this play out several times. And so we have now learned that this summon rush is bad value. And so what we've actually done, and let me clear this out, is what I did for this fusion is I just skipped this summon rush. And I think when I did my fusion plan, I recommended that to people. But knowing that, hey, there are 100 fragments here, and I'm just skipping 25. I need the first 50, right? This is broken into 2 batches. It's the 50 that you're required to get, and then the 50 bonus fragments that could make up for other events. So in reality, I would need 75 of these fragments if I skipped the summon rush. And if I got all 100, I could probably only skip one of these 3 events, right? I couldn't skip an earlier event. I couldn't really plan on that yet, but we're getting to the point where we can start to plan on that. And so I'd say, okay, I'm going to skip the gear enhancement event and save myself 20 million silver. I'll still do the Ice Golem tournament because that's easy. The Classic Arena takedown is really easy. So these events are going to get done, but these are the 2 events that I'm going to skip. And what actually happened there is we know that the summon rush, it takes roughly 6 sacred shards worth of points to complete. I do mine with sacreds. You can use other shards, but I do mine with sacreds. And that's sort of the easiest way to calculate here. I'm not even sure. This summon rush may have been it was almost 6.5 sacreds. I think it was relatively expensive, but I don't remember exactly. But I know it was at least 6 sacreds. what I was able to do, because this was, remember, this hero's path was a dungeon divers and a champ or a summon rush. Really, it was a summon rush. And again, this was during a 2x weekend. I said, okay, I'm not going to spend my sacreds there because they're going to be more valuable next weekend. This is a 2x sacred weekend. Why don't we just hold for that anyway? And then we can also do some dungeon divers. Right now, the dungeon divers isn't a bad thing because we're already doing the ice golem, right? And the ice golem lines up. So that's a double dip with the ice golem. And we can just continue to do dungeon divers. We get the value out of dungeon divers anyway, whether we're doing that ice golem or a different dungeon. I ended up doing spider. And that gets us a lot of heroes path points. So I was able to get 75 fragments here for just 4 sacreds. That's all it took to get those points. Now, I think I pulled more because it was a 2x weekend and I just wanted to keep pulling. But my point being that I got to the point total I needed with just 4 sacreds. Yeah. So more, and then if you think about the hero's path, like versus the summon rush. So the summon rush also has a reward track, right? That reward column that everybody can get. And then the hero's path has rewards in it as well. The rewards that I would get for pulling 6 sacreds were much, much worse, much lower. There are far fewer of them than doing the hero's path. I got to go all over, pull a whole bunch of different resources. I got energy, I got soul stones, I got glyphs, I got all sorts of things that I couldn't get from the summon rush reward track. So I got double the rewards and triple the fragments for 2/3 of the sacred shards. And then, of course, the dungeon divers and the energy and all that went into it. So this hero's path was so much more valuable. Now, again, I think the initial strategic sort of plan of Plarium was that they wanted to do this to entice us to spend. But the reality is they've given us a more efficient way to do these fusion events than ever before. So if you're patient, and if you don't spend, and if you're willing to risk the chance that they might change things on us and totally mess us up, because remember, this hero's path is at the end of the fusion event. If you're willing to risk that, which more and more of us are every month that this proves consistently true, then you can actually save more resources or get more value for your resources than ever before. Now, I want to show you how this is playing out in the current Titan event. We've had a similar situation here at the end of the first week. Now, I think the Titan events are even more, like, more evidence. It's more apparent. Plarium's approach to us is more apparent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because with these community week Titans event, with all of these Titan events mirror fusion events, right? But at the beginning of a fusion event, like, first of all, that information blackout is maintained. They don't give us any preview of the calendar, the fusion calendar, until the day the fusion starts. So we get the calendar the day the fusion starts. We used to get it 24 hours in advance or 48 hours in advance. That's been gone for a couple of years now. So for the last couple of years, they only give us the calendar the day the event launches. And that's also true here with the Titan events. But for the fusion calendar, we get 2 weeks. We get the whole fusion outlined first. But the way it happens here in with these Titan events is different, because here they don't actually give us any of the information like in advance, and they don't even give us like a published calendar. You can't go to the website and get a published calendar. The only calendar that's available is on Plarium Play. So if you're a mobile user, you just don't get it. You have to go and watch a content creator who hopefully posts it. That'll give you some information. Here is my Plarium Play calendar, and as you can see, today is Sunday the 27th. Now, this Titan event is broken into 2 weeks. The first week, we know we were getting like whatever it was, 950 points. And then the second week, we were getting 800 points. However, it's broken down. We know there's 1,750 points total. It takes 1,500 points to get the 5-star soul. But what happened was we had to wait until the actual launch of the Titan event. So we got the first half of the calendar on Monday the 21st. When the Titan event launched, that was the first time we got to see what the events were going to look like. And they only populated until, I think, Saturday the 26th or Friday. They only gave us half of the week. It was Saturday the 26th. So it wasn't until last night, late last night, that the second week of events actually populated here in the calendar. And now we can actually plan our way through the second week. So they're giving us even less information for the Titan event than they give us for the fusion event. And the fusion event is always like under blackout until the last possible minute anyway. So this is like an extra blackout, right? But they're doing the same thing here, where in this particular case, the event is at the end of the first week. The big event, I don't even know if you would call it, because it's like, well, yeah, it's a mega event. It's a deck of fate within a Titan event, right? So that's the mega event. And we knew it was coming because it's part of the first week, right? Or, yeah, I think we could see it. So I don't know. We knew it was coming somehow. But so if you click on it, you'll notice that it doesn't tell us, it didn't tell us what the points were going to come from. So now it says earn fate points by summoning souls from soulstones and getting artifacts and accessories. But it didn't say that originally, right? When we first noticed that there was going to be a deck of fate, we had no idea where the points were going to come from. So that information blackout, again, was there to mess with us. But what you'll notice is we knew that the Summon Rush event was going to overlap the deck of fate. So there was potential for the deck of fate to include shard pulls. Could be a Summon Rush deck of fate, basically, right? But we didn't know that. And so as a result, every content creator in the community said, hey, hold your shards. You know, this is not a big deal. You can wait until the last day. Wait until Sunday, or at least Saturday, because then the embargo will probably be lifted and the content creators in the program can let us know what the points are coming from. So that's what happened yesterday. Some people let us know, oh, the deck of fate is going to be soul stones and whatever else it is, like dungeon divers or whatever. It's like, okay, so that's what it is. Now we can go ahead and pull our shards. But clearly waiting to pull your shards was the right move, right? Even though it ended up not being, it didn't pay out, right? We didn't get a Summon Rush event in the golden deck of fate event, but that's okay. Right? Because someday it might happen. And so this is like, oh yeah, we need to wait. We need to wait. We need to wait. We need to wait. They keep telling us that we need to wait in order to utilize the information that we have, because they keep blacking us out until the last moment, till the last moment, till the last moment. So we have to wait until the last moment, the last moment, the last moment. And that's what we did. Now, in this particular case, like I said, it didn't necessarily pay out because in game, we now know we're not pulling shards. But that's okay, because I can still pull shards. The progressive event is still on for another 13 hours. It hurt me not at all. All it did, the only way it could have hurt me is if I'm just so impatient that I want to pull shards instantly. I'm just like, I have to pull shards. And then it was painful to wait. But I'm a free-to-play player, so it doesn't bother me. And I think more and more people are beginning to see that, like, yeah, this waiting, it's not disadvantageous. It's advantageous, and it doesn't actually hurt to wait. It just pays out, right? Another thing we had to wait is, like, I've been saving soulstones for months, or weeks at least, because I know that eventually they're going to have some event like this, right? We've got a 2 times boosted event plus a deck of fate. That's a triple dip, right? I get the results of the stones, I get the boosted rate for the souls, and I get the points from the deck of fate. So I think what has happened is that Plarium has leaned so far in the direction of punishing those who pull early and rewarding those who pull late, that they've basically trained us all now, even more so than ever before, to wait to pull our resources. And that runs exactly counter to how gacha games make their money. Gacha games are built around the idea of FOMO and poor impulse control, right? You rage pull. I didn't get what I wanted. I'm going to spend another $100. I didn't get what I wanted. I'm going to spend another $100. But now we're just like, oh, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. They're teaching us patience. They're literally teaching us how to beat their game, or at least wouldn't say beat their game, but to play their game in as efficient a manner as possible and spend as little money as possible. So this is where I want to know your thoughts. Like, do you think that this is actually what's happening? Do you think that the strategy is working for Plarium, and that in fact people are going to be spending more money in 2025 because of these unfriendly practices that Plarium is employing? Or do you think like the tipping point has occurred? The needle has gone past center, and now what's happening is the unfriendly approach has just got us all finally saying, oh, we've got to do this other thing. We've got to be more patient. And it really, really is wait Shadow Legends. And I'm going to do that and get more value. So let me know, like, first of all, your personal experience, and then just let me know what you think the community response will be to this approach. I love the fact that a gacha game has tilted past the point of reason and now is just reinforcing the lessons that we all need to learn about these games, which is that they're player unfriendly and that we can do better if we wait. Yeah, that's it. All right, so interesting topic this week. I hope you found this conversation interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them all. I know I haven't been responding to as many normally as I do normally, but I'm definitely interested in hearing your thoughts on this topic, so I'll get back to you if I can. And and make sure to read the other comments, because I think this is going to be an interesting discussion we can continue in our Discord, continue in videos that we have over the next couple of months. All right, that is it for me today. Thanks so much for hanging out. I have been Cole Red. I will see you in another video soon.